Welcome everyone to another episode of Y&T and Friends Vinyl Talk. I'm your host Brian Foster, and on today's episode, we are doing another deep dive into Y&T album. This will be part one of two, and this is probably my favorite Y&T album, and that is 1990's Ten. So, as usual, we will go through all the worldwide vinyl releases today. Show you what those all look like through there. Um, Being 1990, vinyl was on its way out, so there are not a lot of vinyl releases to talk about. So, what I thought I'd do is throw in some kind of unique or rare cassette and CD versions of this album as well. We can show and talk about those along with that. And then, of course, next week, part two will be a true deep dive into the album and the tracks, song by song. And I'll have a special guest with me to talk about that. So, I guess without further ado, let's jump into this. So the only U.S. copy of 10 on vinyl is this one right here, which you can see kind of looks a little weird with the black around it. But it is and the back is just white with the track listings. So this is a Columbia House um, copy of this album. So the strange part is that um, there is a Geffen catalog number for this album, but Geffen never officially released this on vinyl. So it's only a Columbia House. So this was pressed at the Columbia plant in Georgia, which a lot of Geffen records were pressed there. Take a look at something that came out right before this, like Whitesnake Slip of the Tongue, was pressed at that plant as well for Columbia House. So I think the plan originally was for Geffen to release this on vinyl. However, having this being recorded in 1989, I think it probably got pushed back. And once it finally came time to release this, Geffen decided, no, we're not going to put this out on vinyl. We're just going to do CD and cassette. So on the actual dead wax itself, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show that to you on here or not, but that's the label. So it's a regular Geffen label, right? So everything looks like an official Geffen release, but right there, and I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but that's where the original Geffen catalog label is etched out. And then the Columbia House assigned it a catalog number of 1P80281, and then just released this for Columbia Record Club. So kind of interesting. Um, you haven't I haven't seen too many versions like that where it's just the Columbia House on there, at least on vinyl. Maybe as we got later into the 90s, there were more of those. Um, but definitely kind of strange at that time. So, um, nothing special inside the inner sleeve, just a white paper inner sleeve. So that is the only US vinyl version of that album. Then we have a couple of European versions. So more of a full view. And of course, this matched what was on the long box, the CD long box, that came out. Minus the logo. Logo's in white instead of black there. the black background. Um, Not like the back of the CD there. This is a European made in Germany release. So this does have a specific inner sleeve, so that looks like the picture from the CD booklet. And then you have pictures of the band there, which also were in that CD booklet. No lyrics, just some thank yous and credits on the side there. What is unique about these two European ones is going to be on the label. So this particular one has that DGC label, David Geffen Company, on there. Whereas this other release has that Geffen Records with the kind of ball G up top there, whatever you want to call that. Otherwise, everything else is exactly the same. So labels look identical minus that. So that's the only difference in that variation. And then the last vinyl is actually from Mexico. And it has that banner there on the front, which is basically says Rocker Series on there. Um, Back pretty much the same. Um, Inner sleeve, I think is fairly generic. This one actually, the one I got didn't come with an inner sleeve. But the interesting thing is, Geffen used Warner Brothers quite a bit for distribution. So this one is actually on a white Warner Brothers label with the Geffen logo up there up top as well. So it's kind of interesting. So those are the only vinyl versions that at least that I'm aware of that I've ever seen and ever seen listed for this album. All right, so like I said, since there's only four here, I thought I'd bring out a few other things. I mean, there's tons of cassettes throughout the world, tons of CDs throughout the world. Already kind of showed this, but here in the U.S., this is what the CDs usually came in, was this long box at the time. Um, they made these for theft protection. Stores and CDs were fairly small, easy to put in your pocket. The first cassette I have here is actually a promo cassette. So it's got a very generic typed out J card, Geffen on there. The cassette, very generic, just 10 and that's side B, side A, and then just has the cassette catalog number on there. There's no date on here, so I was kind of interested to see if this came out a little earlier, maybe late 89, but if this was ready, but no date on here. Then I have a an actual US promo. So this sticker is actually on the case there. So these did not come wrapped. You can see the hole punch there. They did that a lot to designate promos on cassette and CDs, in the 90s. Um, Everything else looks just like a regular cassette. Um, there were no lyrics in the cassette, just this long. The thank you credits again, kind of similar to the inner sleeve of the European vinyl. And then just some pictures of the band, and of course the other picture that was with the CD and the CD cover inside. All right, a couple of more cassettes here to show. So this one is, you can kind of tell here. So the top's a US and the bottom there is actually a Canadian. So the Canadian was in black. It's a black cassette. I always liked the black cassettes. Thought those were cool. J card's exactly the same. This one here is actually a Columbia House for Canada. Thus no barcode on there. Then the last one I grabbed here is actually a French copy. Actually, I take that back. It's Indonesia, as you can see on the bottom there. And then the barcode is there. It's kind of interesting. Again, everything else is the same inside. This was distributed by Warner Brothers Records as well. So, although US didn't get a whole lot of versions here, they at least put one out in Indonesia. So, all right. So the CDs. So this is a promotional CD copy for US. You can see it's got Y&T Ten on the front there. So the cool part about this one is if you open it up and it just has this, which kind of matches the CD cover art for that. But the actual CD case has that kind of screen printed on, which I thought was really cool. And then the CD actually has a promotional stamp on it. I forgot too, the catalog number actually has the DJ at the end. So definitely the ones that they sent to radio stations for them to play. This one's basically the same version, but it doesn't have that screen print on there. So, I don't know if somebody switched this out into a different case or if this was a limited supply of these and then they sent more out with just this. So, that I don't know. If you do know, put it in the comments. So the other CDs that I grabbed two CD singles. Um, this first one here, let me take it out of the case of the glare. Um, but the way I got this front of the case, there's nothing there, and then just this Geffen sleeve on the back. But the CD looks like this. So it had the first and only single, "Don't Be Afraid of the Dark." Radio Edit, which I believe was 409. And then it had Summertime Girls as the second song. So And this is where it makes you think that this is should have came out in '89. Is that copyright for this CD single is 1989. So even if they released this in December, people, and that album didn't come out till June, that is quite a long time. So then the proper promotional single, I guess, right? Have that familiar artwork. Don't be afraid of the dark. Um, Familiar artwork with the picture on the back. However, you got some purple on the back there. So you got three different versions of Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. So you've got the rock radio, the rock edit fade, which was the 409, which was on the other one. Then you've got a rock edit that's 434. And then you've got the LP version, which is 4 minutes and 51 seconds. So you can see CD looks like there. And this one has a copyright of 1990. So this one probably came out closer to the release of the album. All right, then the last one I thought I'd show here. They did always like the Japanese versions of either vinyl or CDs. I think they just do a fantastic job, especially like recreating everything that was in the original albums. So they did a series in 2016, I believe. It's called the West Coast Hard Rock Collection. So they did all the Y&T CDs from Earthshaker through 10 in this series. So they all have that kind of blue obi with the flag on it. And you have the back there. So the cool part about these is they would recreate the label on the CDs and or in the case of this one, put a little card in there that replicated that. So you can see that that looks exactly like the label I showed earlier with the GGC on the top there. And then these are all came numbered. I believe they were limited to 500. Um, as most Japan releases, they have a lyric booklet with it. So it's going to have it both in Japanese and English. So, for instance, there's some of your English lyrics. And of course, you have your lyrics in Japanese. Then they replicated the inner sleeve. So again, it looks just like that European release, the vinyl inner sleeve. But for some reason on this one, they didn't put the actual record label on the CD. This is just plain. It just says Y&T 10 on there. So it's kind of hard to show with all that reflection. They just use that card to show you what it looks like. So some of them do have it actually on the CD, some of the other releases. So these releases are not necessarily hard to find, but some can be very expensive. There was a box set of all these CDs that came out in a special box, Y&T box. I've seen one listed on eBay for 850 bucks, which is a little out of my price range for that. But slowly been trying to get these. I think I'm missing two of these of the collection. In fact, I just ordered one this morning that I found for open fire. So, all right. Well, that will be it for kind of the vinyl releases, and then some extras there with the cassette and CDs. So again, the next episode will be part two, where we'll really dive into the album track by track, give our opinions on the songs and what we think about it. Spoiler alert, I really like this album. So with that, please like and subscribe below if you haven't already. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think about this album. What else do you have in your collection that's 10? I will definitely show on the part two. I've got some stuff I bought from Dave Meniketti's auction that relates to 10, so I'm saving that for part two. So if you want to see some really cool pieces that belong to this album, uh, check out the next episode on there. All right, appreciate you watching. You guys have a great day. We'll see you next time.